I think Senegal is one of the happiest country in Africa as we speak. Of course, we all know that yesterday, left winger Bassirou Faye was sworn in as Senegal's youngest president. And this swearing in is coming just 10 days after this guy was released from prison. Can you imagine? From prison to president? Like, I don't know. I don't know what else, personifies or defines from grass to grace. Anyways, the 44-year-old Bassirou Faye was yesterday sworn in as the 5th Senegalese president and is taking over from immediate past president Macky Sall after he has been the president of Senegal for the last 12 years, if I'm correct. All right, and we know this is typical in Africa where most leaders want to stay in power till like forever, but then this is like a new twist in the whole plot and is coming from Senegal. Anyways, his inauguration yesterday was witnessed by African leaders from literally every country on the African continent, even our own dear president, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who also doubles as chairman of the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, in the person of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was also present in Senegal to witness the inauguration of Bassirou as Senegal's president. Wow, fantastic. The whole of the social media spaces are gone, with different excerpts coming from the inauguration yesterday. And of course, I don't even want to go into the comments. I don't even want to go into how Senegalese, the people of Senegal, are feeling at this moment. When people go out to cast their vote and the person they want in place is actually the one who takes the victory, it's a different kind of feeling, and I think that's how Senegal is at the moment. All right, so then, anyways, from political prisoner to president, all within 20 days, and becoming the youngest president in Africa. Mr. Adegbenro, what are your thoughts?
Congratulations to Senegal. After 3 years of political turmoils in that particular country, and also congratulations to all those Senegalese that told the path of peace, that make sure that the election were held, that make sure the election, irrespective of the shenanigans of the politicians, especially at the ruling party of that particular state, they still felt that nobody is going to die this election, we are going to do it accordingly, and also a respect to the outgoing president. Because if he wants to behave like other presidents, especially in Africa, that we know that for you to shift a current president, and no blood was shed during the election, irrespective of, and he considered that no, this is I've lost this election and I'm going to hand over, and he did not run away on the day of handing over. Apart from that, it was at the time where the guy was taking inaugural speech, when he wanted to hand the key of the state house he still stood there and presented that I presented this key in the face of all the world and all the Senegalese, and that one really provides something. But one thing there is this: I think it's very, very important that incoming president here, now the president of Senegal, needs that he needs to do a lot of things. He has taken 2 drastic steps in his speech. The first one, when he picked the prime minister, another politician in the 40s. Yeah. So we are having a country that is having a model of 44, 47. When you have a president 44 years, you have the prime minister 47 or 49 years, and ruling a particular country, I think with the youthful age grades that we have in Senegal, I think it's going to be a better, and the way they are also looking at the agro carbon industries they really want to venture is, and they said they are open to everybody. So far you respect their own sovereignty. That means they want to shift the idea from the France and they want to open it up to everybody. But I wish them well. But one thing that is going to be very, very important in this particular administration of Bassirou is that he must make sure that peace is very, very paramount, and also job opportunities for the youth. So if he can do that, I'm telling you, they are going to put the Senegal on the pedestal that everybody is going to be envious of.
Thank you, Mr. Adegbenro. Mr. Shopito. What are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's a happy development.
Yes,
there are so many little elements of these elections and the recent events in Senegal that I like. One of them is the one he's highlighted, the age of the guys that are going to be running the country over the next 7 years. Even though we have to add a caveat to that, that we have examples of youthful public officials in Nigeria, and sadly, they have not been a shining example or a shining model or an advertisement for the not too young to run concept, you know. So we hope that these guys will be a departure. Fortunately, they are emerging in a country where the engagement of the citizenry is significantly higher. Yeah. It's a country where, you know, maybe because they're a French colony, the alertness, the awareness, the public and political awareness of the populace is very high, and protests are not unusual. So in the last 3 months, in the last 3 to 4 months, there have been several protests that has led to the emergence. That has led to the emergence of these guys. You know, so Macky Sall, I don't know what it is about Africa. I don't know if it's our air, if it's our soil, you know, that makes our leaders eventually, degenerate into potential dictators, sit-tight presidents. You know, because Macky Sall did not want to leave. Yeah. He made several efforts to stop, you know, his opposition, to even change the constitution, you know, and all of that, as they always do in Africa. Fortunately for Africa, just as a side, light-hearted comment, we've got Putin in Russia to shine to the world that it's not only Africa that has this problem. Fortunately for us, we've got Putin there. So before anybody says that it's just an African problem, I think it's a human thing. You know, but I think for me, the issue now is that those protests that led to the emergence of Faye and Sanko is something that Africans, and especially Nigerians, need to look to as an example. Yes, the state is not as high-handed, maybe because they've never had military rule in that country. It's the most stable democracy, I think the most stable democracy in Africa. You know, and I think that is showing. So the citizens there are not afraid of voicing their opinion, either at the ballot or on the streets. And I think that we have lessons to learn from that. Nigerians need to understand that for you to get a president like Faye, instead of the president like the one that went to represent us at the inauguration of Faye, no offense to the man, I'm just talking of the ages. Age difference. I'm just talking of the age gap. So if you want a 44-year-old president as against a 72-year-old president, if you want a president who in his younger days was a shepherd, this guy is a farmer, you know, from very, very humble beginnings, without a tax collector, without any opportunance of wealth,
no political
and
father,
all of that, no godfather, nothing. You know, if we want that, we have to understand that we must fight for it. We have to demand it, insist on it, and get it. You know, for me, that's the biggest lesson. I wish them well. There's one thing that the guy has said that I absolutely love, that I read somewhere. He's contemplating changing the currency of Senegal.
Yes.
I mean, that is amazing.
Fantastic.
I have always said, you know, when you look at the Francophone African countries, and you look at Niger, you look at Chad, you look at Mali, you know, all of those guys that we've had coups, you find that there's a relationship between those coups and the French influence. Yes. Now, how does France, who has given independence to these countries for so many years now, still retain influence, still wield the kind of control and power over them? It's in the economy and in the military, right? So if you are able to call their bluff and break away from the cipher, then you find that you've taken the first step in your fight for independence, because they are not independent, really, let's be honest. They are just colonies of France without, you know, the French flag flying over them. So I think I love the freedom, the Pan-Africanist freedom tone of this president, and I wish him success. It's not going to be an easy battle, because to change the currency of a country, change the name of the country and all that,
a lot of things.
It takes a lot. It's not an easy fight. You have to look at the economic fundamentals. What is the strength of your economy to be able to sustain a currency on its own? What are your reserves? Your reserves in dollars, your reserves in gold. There are so many things that you need to consider before you can break away from the CFA. But at least the fact that he has, voiced the desire, and it's a, they will say where there is a will, there is a way, So, and from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Quoting scriptures, a man is satisfied with good by the fruit of his lips. Quoting scriptures. I think that the man has started off on the right path, and I can only wish Senegal well, and I can only beg Nigerians, stop being afraid to die. We're all going to die one day.
All right,
I'm telling you, that message, Mama P, before you disclaim me, we have to recognize that we are all going to die one day. It's inevitable. We're all going to die. So this idea that, if I go out, they will do this, they will do that, police will arrest me, they will shoot, we did NSAS, people died, blah, all those things. We have to stop it. We have to understand that we must ask for, demand, and fight for the kind of country we want to see. Senegal is on its own path now. Nigerians should take the lessons, from there.
Thank you, Mr. Shokwiton. Let me quickly put a disclaimer out there that this station and this program essentially does not support any singular or collective act of violence, all right? Neither do we support any speech that might incite violence. Everything said at this table are entirely the opinions of my analysts, all right? So, talking about us taking it, however...
We are not preaching violence, so...
We are not inciting violence.
We're not preaching violence.
Just, taking, context from what we're discussing.
Exactly.
Another lesson that I want Nigerians to really learn from it is this. During the Senegalese election, there was no money thrown around.
No votes back.
Even observers, European observers, all of them. It is a lesson that every Nigerian should put it at the back of your mind. Anytime somebody is going on ballots and you are collecting money from that particular person, you have not just sold your soul. You have sold your entirety for the duration of the time that person is going to be on the post. Then another thing again is this. One of the lessons, the way they fought to make sure that this president come out of a prison 10 days to the election. The way the role that the judiciary played is another lesson that we need to learn. But I just think that as Senegal is laying this particular foundation for other African countries, I think Nigeria, the most populous black nation in the world, we are going to toe the line. And our youth needs to get a lesson that for the fact that you are 34 does not mean you cannot become a governor. And that one is so certain that those people that are governors today, they are no better than you. What you just need to do, discover yourself, put your energy right, and also be focused. With that, we can have a governor that will be 30 years in Nigeria. We can have president that will be 44 years in Nigeria. But our youth need to rechannel their energy from yahoo, from thuggery, from criminality, and focuses on good governance. With that, I think we are going to have a better Nigeria.
Thank you so much. All right, so the whole of Africa is celebrating Senegal at this point because this is what people really want to happen at elections. All right, let the people's vote actually count. Now, this guy who has become the president, Bassirou Faye, he was actually arrested and sent to prison where he stayed for 11 months. And that's to lend credence to what you just talked about, not being afraid, to go through some sort of challenges, because you know what you want to achieve in the future. I think that's a better way to put it.
I agree. But sometimes the extreme imagery passes the message.
Yeah. All right. So 11 months he was in prison because of what he believed in, and he didn't have any kind of political backing or.
He has never held any political position in his life, even a class captain.
Started as a farmer, became a tax inspector, and then but then he was always consistently posting on Facebook his thoughts about corruption in contracts for the lucrative oil and gas sector of that country and everything that wasn't going right in the country and all of that. That put him into trouble with his someone I would like to call his mentor, his name is Osman Sonko, who should have been president actually,
yes,
but couldn't contest because for obvious reasons. But then Faye was able to ride on his popularity, on Osman's popularity, and then got the vote of the people. He actually won 54% of 54%, yes. All right. So it's a new dawn in Senegal, and as the youngest president in Africa, Bassirou Faye, takes office at the presidential palace, some see uncertainty ahead because a lot of work actually lies ahead of this young man. But then other people see hope for a new beginning. But one thing that is clear is that for Senegal, it will not be business as usual any longer. There certainly is going to be some semblance of change in that country. All right, it is something Nigerian politicians, even the Nigerian people should actually learn from. And of course, that popular saying, behind a successful man is a woman. Well, this guy has got two women.
Yes, and he doesn't shy away from
two beautiful women.
Yes. Talking about balance, Bassirou is a Muslim. Then he's married to one Muslim and one Christian.
And he doesn't hide it, unlike some certain politicians.
His religion permits.
No, there are some that even upon the religion they will hide it. Yes. So I still give it to him as a polygamist, and he really showed it, and it really shows that the man is a good man.
I mean, look at the picture now. That's his two wives with him at his swearing.
Yes.
You have to applaud this.
It shows that breaking another record.
Yes, as the president, that really shows. Yes,
with two first ladies. With two first ladies.
And if you look at the dressing, it shows a wife that is cultural, that is well rooted, and called the civilized women. So it tries to balance the question. I think Senegal is going to be a very good run, and it's going to be a very good run.
I'm rooting for them. Really, the way I'm feeling right now, you would think I'm from Senegal. That's what it is. Okay.